All right. Toko is in Discord with me right now, and he redeemed a tier maker list of Robert Zemeckis films. Toko, is Robert Zemeckis one of your favorite directors?
I mean, just looking at his filmography, I mean, you have so many different iconic movies. He's definitely up there for sure.
Is this list full? Is this it?
He doesn't direct movies, he doesn't pump them out. So I mean, this is probably not a full list, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
I'm looking at the list. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Let's see. I'm seeing about maybe 20 or 25 movies he's directed, but I mean, the ones that aren't on your list probably are not any.
The Wikipedia lists everything that he produced and didn't direct as well. So
yeah, there's 3 movies here that he's produced but didn't direct. So about 20 movies, give or take. But the ones that aren't on that list aren't important. So
okay. Now, I'm going to warn you in advance. There's a couple in here that I have not seen.
There's definitely a few that I haven't seen.
So, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Let me zoom in a bit. I've not seen I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Nope.
Used Cars. I have not seen that either. Romancing the Stone. I have seen. Now, Romancing the Stone. I liked this movie when I saw it when I was in grade school-ish era. Junior high, like early junior high, maybe 6th, 7th grade era, I think is when it came out. 85, 86. Very 84. Much 84. Okay, so I was like in the 4th or 5th grade around that time. I liked it. It was very much a wannabe Raiders of the Lost Ark, but then again, Raiders changed the game for so many people. It was a fun movie. I don't know that it deserves an A, but he didn't do Jewel of the Nile. And for me, Jewel of the Nile is almost as good, but it would be 1 tier below. So if Romancing the Stone's a B, I would put Jewel of the Nile as a C. But there's no F in here, and there's no have not seen. So whoever made this list, I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with you. Just a little bit. Not cool. Not cool with that.
Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, DeVito is in it too.
If you have not seen Romancing the Stone, then I definitely recommend a viewing.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, and it holds up pretty well. I think it's aged pretty well. I have not seen it in a long time. Here's the thing. For now, I'm actually gonna put it as an A because it's a really fun movie. I don't know if it belongs lower. It's not gonna go higher than A. But as I rank the other films, we'll see if maybe it goes down because maybe S and A, maybe it belongs in the B. But right now, we'll leave it as an A. Back to the Future 1. Anyone who rates this less than an S tier is lying to you.
Yeah, I wonder where you're going to put this
Lying to you. Lying to you. It's
one of the most iconic.
85. Yeah, 85. Masterpiece. 85. Hilarious. You know, I listened to the... what's the name of that podcast I always do? The Rewatchables. And they did an episode on Back to the Future. And they complained a little bit about a couple of things in it that were like really nitpicky. And even they were saying, this is super nitpicky because we all love this film so much. But that's what they do in that podcast. They try to, what's our favorite things? What's our least favorite things? What's aged the best? What's aged the worst? And yeah, it's almost unassailable in how good it is and how well it's aged. It's an S. And anyone who says it's less than that probably hasn't seen it recently or ever. Back to the Future 2. No, we're doing Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This is such a weird movie.
Bob Hoskins.
The fact that it even got made and that it turned out as good as it did and that it was not CG. It was all hand drawn.
You've seen a Space Jam precursor.
Yes. This though, it's I respect the film more than I enjoy it. And Christopher Lloyd as the bad guy, perfect in it, by the way. For me personally, it's a B. But if people tell me it's an A or even an S tier, I wouldn't argue with it. It's just from a personal perspective, I didn't connect enough with the movie to want to watch it over and over again. I've seen it like twice.
That's kind of where it is for me personally, but if you had to think about how it kind of paved the road for future films, you might put it at an A tier.
Very influential. Very
I
influential.
completely agree with you.
Yeah, and this isn't me ranking films like, well, this is a great film. You know, Citizen Kane is S tier. Like me, if I'm personally ranking Citizen Kane, if we're ranking movies, it's not S tier. It is the most influential film of all time.
Not your Rosebud.
It's 4 stars on every critic's list, as it should be. Me personally, it's not S tier. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my personal list and not where things should be. It's just my personal list. So for me personally, Roger Rabbit's a B. Good movie. You want to argue for an S or an A? I would understand. I don't think it belongs any lower than B. Back to the Future 2. B as well.
Okay.
Where do you put it? Is it higher than that for you?
I would probably do a B, make it a B plus. Me personally, I wouldn't quite put it in the A tier, but for me, just the fact that they go to so many different, like time periods, like I don't know.
They time hop a lot. It gets to be a little too much in the third act, and but having said that, it's still really watchable. And every time it's on TV, I still watch it. It's the least of the 3. Spoiler alert, because I'm going to put Back to the Future 3 as an A. It's a damn good movie. What are you, a chicken?
It's a Western, yeah. It's Bob Zemeckis. He wanted to direct a Western, and he got to direct a Western.
And he got to pull it off, and it all makes perfect sense. It's a feel good like the first one. Yeah.
The fact that he gets those one of the 3 most iconic character actors to be in that saloon scene, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Is this? Oh man, yeah.
It's
Mary Steenburgen obviously is great.
Yeah, Steenburgen, yeah. Mary Steenburgen. Well, and she'll always forever be. She's been in so many great movies, but Step Brothers.
I knew it.
Her yelling the F word. It's like the funniest shit ever. So for me, Back to the Future 1 is an S, and you can't rank it lower. Back to the Future 3 deserves to be an A. It's almost like I don't want to say an A plus, but it's a damn good movie. Death Becomes Her. I haven't seen it.
I don't think I've seen that one either.
I also haven't seen Polar Express. We're gonna slide that over there.
Express. I mean, I saw it in the theater. I remember, as a kid in school, we would read the book during Christmas time, and we were excited to see it in movie form. And
Polar Express.
The animation, Polar Express. Yes, the animation. The fact that it was just so
creepy.
It was motion capture. It was just.
Their eyes are so dead. Like, I saw a trailer for it, and I went, I have no interest in seeing that. Their eyes are so dead. Like, even more so than that Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within movie. Because that movie looked great, but there was something about their eyes. They just looked dead. They looked even more dead in Polar Express. I'm like, what is going on? It's so creepy.
Tom Hanks does multiple roles in the movie.
Yeah.
And, he's great. If this was my list, I would probably put it as a C or a D.
Okay.
I have to think about it, but.
Have you seen The Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey? Is the CGI better in that one?
I've seen parts of The Christmas Carol on TV. I haven't seen a full viewing. I would say the motion capture animation is better, and then Jim Carrey has a Tom Hanks role where he does multiple roles. And
okay.
I mean, it's Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey's gonna Jim Carrey. And then I haven't seen Welcome to Marwen. I saw the trailer for it. It felt a little too squishy, touchy-feely for me, and from the trailer, and I don't know. It didn't get a lot of talk. Like, I didn't see a lot of buzz. I didn't have anyone telling me, dude, you should see this. Not a single person. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I just didn't have a desire after watching the trailers for it to want to seek it out. So, love Steve Carell. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Okay. Your mic is swallowed.
I have not seen that movie.
All right. I've seen everything on the rest of this list, though. So Forrest Gump. It's an S. It's an S. I'm sorry. It is. Anyone who hates this movie is soulless.
They just have no positive outlook on life.
That's what it is. And like even when I was at my darkest, hating humanity, which is around the time this movie came out, just, you know, early, you know, 20 years old, basically, just, you know, angry at a lot of things in life. I saw this in a theater twice, and both times I choked up at the end, and you can't watch it and not enjoy it. It's a wonderful Zemeckis film. To me, it's S- if I'm comparing it to Back to the Future. Back to the Future, spoiler alert, it's my favorite Zemeckis film. So on this list, it is my favorite. But Forrest Gump probably deserves to be second on that list for me.
I mean, I can't really argue with that. I know a lot of people probably would put Forrest Gump as their number one. And then, shocker, Alan Silvestri does the music, who also did the music for Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, it's an iconic score, just like Back to the Future, iconic score. The way they did the computer stuff to make it look like he was that he's in all those places, it's so iconic that anytime a movie shows a character in different time eras, like when famous things happen, they say it's Forrest Gumping, or they pull a Forrest Gump, like the Assassin's Creed 3. I remember when your characters at the signing of the Declaration of Independence are like, well, is he Forrest Gump? Like, I remember reading that in a ton of reviews. It is something that no one has really ever been able to try to copy. And that's the same thing with Back to the Future. Like, there's been other movies that are obviously inspired by them. You can't make another Forrest Gump. You just can't.
No. And speaking real quick of Back to the Future, I know Robert Zemeckis has come out and said, this movie will not be remade as long as I'm alive.
Oh.
Like, it just won't be touched. So
yes,
him and Bob Gale, I think, who was like the producer / writer on the film. So
Forrest Gump was made in what year?
1994,
right?
Which was one of
so
the best
I was
years
like
of movies.
20. So yeah, what other movies came out? What was up for
1994? Oscars? That would have been like Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction was in 94. You're right.
Shawshank Redemption came out that year too. God, there's so many other great films in that year though.
I've got to go to 95 because it's the broadcast was in 95 for 94. Yeah, so Tom Hanks had just won the Oscar the year before for Philadelphia, and then he wins it for Forrest Gump. Shawshank Redemption, which I saw in a theater, and most people can't say that. That movie did almost no box office at all. My dad and I went and saw it at a second-run theater, and we walked out of there like, how has no one seen this movie? It's incredible. Like, I told everybody, go see Shawshank Redemption. And by that time, though, it was in a second-run theater. It was pretty much all out of box office. Nigel Hawthorne and the Madness...
True Lies came out that year.
True Lies in 94. Love that movie.
Speed.
Ooh,
Mask.
That's my next list is Schwarzenegger movies.
Leon the Professional, I think, came out that year.
Professional did come out in 94. I'm looking at the Oscar nominees. So, Best Actor. Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump. Morgan Freeman in Shawshank. Nigel Hawthorne, Madness of King George. Paul Newman in Nobody's Fool. John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Those are 5 amazing films. If you've never seen The Madness of King George, it's one of the first period films I ever really saw. It encapsulates this king going crazy, and Nigel Hawthorne's fantastic in it. Paul Newman, one of the most personable roles he's ever had. Nobody's Fool. That movie was on Amazon Prime for a while. You should check that out. It's a really good small town. Guy's down on his luck, doing shit little odd jobs, trying to raise money. It is such a good movie. Nobody's Fool and Wonder Boys are like 2 in the same in terms of small town, older guy, makes bad decisions in life, and then tries to make good at the end. Love those movies. You would like Nobody's Fool. Paul Newman is fantastic.
Nobody's Fool.
Yeah. I want to say Jessica Tandy's in it too. Great movie. Great script. He'd won the Oscar already for Color Money, so I'm sure they were like, yeah, you were good, but you're not Forrest Gump. And Travolta in Pulp Fiction for Best Actor, he's good in it. The movie's obviously amazing, but but still, those those 5 movies are pretty amazing. Ed Wood was 94. Ed Wood is my favorite movie by that director. I'm blanking.
Tim Burton?
Tim Burton. Yes, it's my favorite Tim Burton movie.
That's your favorite Tim Burton movie? Wow.
Yes, and he's made some great movies. I love Ed Wood so much. Samuel Jackson, Pulp Fiction. Bullets Over Broadway, Quiz Show. Quiz Show was pretty good. Gary Sinise.
Oh, The Lion King, if we're just talking about 94
Ooh,
movies.
Lion King was 94 as well. You're right. I'm scrolling through some other movies. Art direction. Cinematography.
Santa Claus.
Legends of the Fall. I saw Legends of the Fall in a theater. I was not in the mood to see that. Maverick was 94.
Oh, I actually love Maverick.
Maverick's pretty good. Best directing, Forrest Gump. Zemeckis. Okay, so that's a pretty good list. There's a lot of good movies that came out in 94. Okay.
You haven't seen Polar Express, haven't seen Christmas Carol, Marwen.
Yeah, those I haven't. So there's 6 of his films I haven't seen. Contact. This was just on cable yesterday. I've seen this a few times. It's an A, but man, it pains me to watch it now for a couple reasons. The ultra rich guy, the bald dude, he looks so much like the guy that was that cult leader. They all wore Nikes. Oh god, it drives me crazy. And the other thing is, it's such a great story, but when you know the direction it's gonna go, seeing it unfold in the last hour or so isn't as satisfying. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's a really good film, and I think it's an A- to B+ for me. And
I don't think I've seen a full viewing of it either.
Really? Matthew McConaughey's pretty good in it. As he's
Jodie Foster.
He's a man of faith. Yeah, Jodie Foster. Yep. Mm-hmm. They kind of have a romantic relationship, but not really. It's I don't want to spoil it. It's a really good movie. It's a little painful to watch.
Okay.
Castaway, 2000. This is an A for me too. Every time I watch it, it gets better and better. I'm giving you space to give me your takes before I go off, because I've been talking a lot.
Well, I mean, I can't really argue with that. It's definitely a very good movie. It's not, in my opinion, very rewatchable.
Okay.
Which can be a good thing.
It is for me.
Yeah, it's like an A or A+, just for his journey through
his journey, the courage of them to say, okay, we're filming this. Nacho, welcome to the Wheelies. Thank you for the follow. I'm ranking Robert Zemeckis films with Tokoboy. It's rewatchable for me, seeing just the courage that they had, or just the balls to say, you know what? We'll film all the stuff when you are not fat, but healthy, and then you go away for a year and lose weight and grow a beard. And I remember he was spotted at a couple of basketball games with that beard, and everybody's like, what the hell is he doing? Like, they had no idea. Like, they knew he was working on a project, and they figured it was for a project. But there's clips on YouTube, I think, of like commentators during live games of him at like a basketball game or a football game or something, and they're like, that's quite the beard he's got there. And it's because he was growing the beard out. So that beard and that hair, the hair might be extensions, but the beard was for sure. It's supposed to be 4 years worth of growth. Because it's 4 years he's on the island, I think. Because when they flash forward, it's like 4 years later.
4 years.
Mm-hmm. It is incredibly well edited. The plane crash that happens in it is the second best plane crash that Zemeckis has ever filmed. We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
And it's seeing his transformation, and the last 20 minutes of that film is really satisfying. It's an A for me.
The end where he, I don't want to spoil it, but where he, meets his the woman he was with and the choices he has to make is incredible.
And you feel for him, but you also feel for her and other people in the film that you're like, it's a tough situation. I mean, they buried him and he's like, I'm right here. You didn't bury me. I'm right here. It's a very subtle film in a lot of ways. And it's something that shouldn't have been as big of a box office movie, considering there's almost like an hour of him talking to himself or not talking at all. And it's very tough to do that, right? To have some sort of dramatic push, you usually need two characters doing something. And they went against the common wisdom of Hollywood and basically, Tom Hanks is one of the few actors they could pull that off with. And not only did they pull it off,
Wilson
that movie did like...
Character?
Wilson was not an actual character. Although, and somewhere in the attic, I have Fox sent me a volleyball with that hand on it, that paint on it. When I was on the key buyer list when I was buying that movie, and I got a volleyball, a Wilson volleyball. It's got the same handprint that they painted on it. Somewhere in the attic, I've got that. I should go dig. Man, one of these days, I'm gonna go dig through these boxes. Okay, Beowulf. I've seen this.
Really quick, can I just? With
Oh yeah.
Go to Beowulf. So one of the final scenes of the movie, he's at those crossroads, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but I actually drove up.
Yeah, you sent me pictures of that.
Which is right outside of Amarillo, and if you literally standing at those crossroads, 20 years later, the only real difference is, there's a bunch of windmills there, and there's like maybe like a building, like a mill right down the road. But other than that, it's just literally just flat horizon. And I don't know who the location scout was, but they're a genius, because that was just like the perfect location for that scene.
Well, as someone who lived in Amarillo for about almost 4 years, I can tell you it's very flat and it's also very windy. So that all matches up. That all matches up.
And I'm kicking myself because when I drove up there, I didn't realize that the house that he goes to is a real location. It was just up the road from where that crossroads was. And
you made all that drive and you didn't even go near the house.
No.
I bet they get that every once in a while from people.
And you go up to the ranch and you see the symbol, that was on the box, and it's like it's real. Yeah, it was there.
The wings.
Yes.
Yeah, great movie. It works way better than it should, and that's all I'll say to that. All right, so Beowulf. This is a C, and I'll say it's not as bad as it could have been, but it's not as good as it thinks it was. You know what I mean? Like the CGI.
A for Angelina Jolie, but that's just me.
Well, so an A for you.
Ray Winstone, I think, does a great job. But yeah, go ahead.
The performances are good. The voice acting is good. The story is okay, even though it's based on a really old story. As I was watching it, I was like, this is okay. He tried something different. Zemeckis did, and this was still when motion capture was still a little rough, but it was making some strides. There's a reason why no one talks about that movie ever.
This was in between Polar Express and Christmas Carol, I think.
So he did like a trilogy of CGI type movies.
Yeah, and Roger Rabbit first, I thought some of the action was good.
Yeah, it's okay, and like a C. Look, honestly, this list should have an F, because I think it belongs in the middle. But it's not good enough for me to call it a B, because there's no F and there's no haven't seen list. So it's a fair C. It's not like a bad C. I wouldn't put it as a D. It's better than that, but it's just kind of eh. It is what it is. When it's over, I was like, all right, that was enough.
I don't argue.
I saw Flight in the theater.
I actually have not seen Flight.
It's a B. The first 20 minutes is gripping as hell. It's almost unbelievable. And I don't know if the physics works or not with the plane doing the barrel roll. I mean, it probably does. I'm just trying to imagine being on a plane that size doing a barrel roll. Do a barrel roll. Yeah. The rest of the film is basically showing how he's an alcoholic and how he's struggling with alcoholism. so it's almost two movies in one, and neither one of them is an A, so that's why I'm putting it as a B. I've watched it twice because it was on cable a couple years ago, and I watched it again. It didn't get any better for me, but it didn't get any worse. And I think a B is a fair place to put it. It's watchable. I've watched it more than once. And you know what? It's almost not fair ranking it with Back to the Future 2 and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I almost feel like it doesn't belong down with Beowulf. But I don't want to put Beowulf as a D because that almost makes it seem like it's a bad movie. Beowulf's not a bad movie. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it as a B, but it's really more of like a C+.
How would you compare Flight with a Tom Hanks, Clint Eastwood movie, kind of a similar pilot crash type situation? Did you ever see Sully?
I've seen Sully. I like Sully more.
Okay.
Sully was a very tight, like 90 minutes, and the way they did the timing back and forth with the editing, between what happened and then him speaking in front of the commission or whatever, it's pretty well done. And then when you look at the history of it, it's pretty close to the way things happen. So, Flight is fictional. So, God, you know, I mean, I'm putting Flight down as a C. I'm putting it as a C. It's a C. Even though I would say C+, and Beowulf's like a C- in this list, I think it needs to be a C. I can't put it next to Back to the Future 2 and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's not on that level.
Okay.
Well, The Walk. Here's why
I enjoyed The Walk.
Here's why I'm putting it as a D. It's okay. The problem is there's a documentary that is eons better than this film. The documentary that inspired it. It's called Man on Wire. You should check it out. The documentary is so much better than this. If you've only seen this movie, you're probably like, hey, that's a kind of a cool story. So if I hadn't seen the documentary first, it's probably a C, maybe even a B. The documentary shows there's no reason for it to exist. And they changed some things too in the story versus what really happened. So it's not an F. All right, it's the lowest on this list. I wouldn't put it as an F. It's okay. But man, if you like this story, you need to see Man on Wire. It's a French documentary about the French guy who did this walk between the Twin Towers.
Philippe, yeah.
It's a wonderful documentary. Man on Wire.
I will certainly check it out just because I actually enjoyed the movie, liked how it played as like a heist film.
Yeah.
I liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance.
Yeah,
I liked
he's okay.
Ben Kingsley's performance. I liked, however short Steve Valentine was in the film, with a pretty good accent.
I know my D is low because it's not a bad movie. I'm just saying it's completely irrelevant if you see the documentary. That's the problem with it. I don't think we needed a fictionalized version because the documentary is so good. There's a lot of interviews with the guy and with the other people who were involved who helped him set it all up. I do. Okay, you know what? Fine. C. But here's why. I'll move it up to a C. The tension that Zemeckis builds to when it's finally happening is pretty well done. It's pretty well done.
And imagine seeing it the way I saw it in the theater, which was in 3D IMAX.
Ooh, okay, that's pretty. That would help.
And yeah, it was pretty amazing. It's a film going experience.
But the tension itself is also built up really well in the documentary. If you like the story, you should check it. Man on Wire. It came out just a couple of years before that.
Well, I know the actual guy, like he kind of trained Joseph Gordon-Levitt a little bit to kind of walk on a wire, and I think he didn't hate the movie. So I mean, for what it's worth.
All right, so here's this Man on a Wire. It won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance in 2008. It won the BAFTA for Outstanding British Film because it's a British production. It won Best Picture at Independent Spirit Awards, and it won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature in 2009. Okay. So, if you need it, there's some specs, and it's only 94 minutes. But yeah, it's the fact that guy, the Robert Petit or whatever, or Philippe Petit.
Yeah.
He is such a great interview, and when they're talking to him, he gets super excited, and he's like he's compelling just hearing him talk about it. He's not some boring guy as he's talking about it. He's very fun to listen to as he's being interviewed.
Well, yeah. I actually own Man on the Walk on Blu-ray, and the special features. You know, he's featured, and they interview him, and I totally get that impression as well.
Yeah, see if you can find that online and give it a view sometime. Add it to a watch list or something, and just check it sometime when you're in the mood. Huh?
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's a really good documentary.
Doesn't look like it's streaming anywhere, but it definitely sounds like it's worth,
keep your eyes out for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's a fantastic documentary. So nothing against the walk. It's just one of those things for me where the documentary was so much better that I don't really need it, but it's not a bad movie. We'll put it as a C.
What you're saying.
Although it's a C- for me, where Flight is a C+, and Beowulf will just be a C. There, if I'm ranking inside that tier, there you go. Okay, last one is Allied.
Haven't seen.
It's a C. Like, it was watchable. I love the two leads together. They're really good together. It's oh god, Brad Pitt and oh god, she was in Inception, the French lady.
Marion Cotillard.
Cotillard, thank you. It's okay. Like I hate ending this list with it's okay, but it's true. The film is perfectly okay. There's nothing really memorable about it. When it's over, you're just like, all right. It was a fine way to kill an hour and 45 minutes or whatever it is, and then when it's over, you don't really think about it anymore. Not a bad movie. And that's the thing. Like, Zemeckis doesn't really make bad movies. I'm sure if I watched Polar Express or Death Becomes Her is like a cult classic. I know a lot of people love that movie. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't seen the whole thing. I'm sure none of these movies are terrible on this list. The ones I haven't seen too. But just the fact that Allied, it was a weird choice for him. Like, it doesn't really... most of the movies in this list you can understand script-wise or technology-wise why he would be drawn to the script. Maybe he just was like, I want to work with Brad Pitt. And this is a script that Brad Pitt came to me for. Like, it could be something like that. I don't know. It's just, when it's over, you're like, yeah, that was something I just watched. It didn't really pull any emotion out of me. So.
Okay.
But you haven't seen it.
No. I remember, trailers for it and not being particularly getting that feeling, oh, I've got to see this movie.
Well, this was in 2016. He hasn't made anything since then? Oh, it's free on Pluto if you want to watch it. I wouldn't tell you to go watch it. It's just... It received a nomination for Best Costume Design. It made $40 million at the box office US. Not great. They spent between 85 and 113 million.
Welcome to Marwen came out in 2018.
Oh, right. Marwen is after that. You're right. Still, though, he's been...
And then he made an HBO one called The Witches.
Oh, he did. That's not on this list. I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't put it up there. It's got Anne Hathaway with this really creepy big mouth. I mean, she has a big mouth to begin with, but even creepier. The Witches. He's making a Pinocchio film. For Disney, a live action, it looks like. Tom Hanks, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Lorraine Bracco, Keegan-Michael Key, Luke Evans. Hey, guess who's doing the soundtrack?
Oh, let me guess. John Williams?
Silvestri.
No. Silvestri is Zemeckis' Williams.
Yeah.
That's
legit.
been clear.
Upcoming
and
film.
Apparently Silvestri is also Spielberg's backup, because when Spielberg was doing Ready Player One, he wanted John Williams, but John Williams
Silvestri did that one
for the post. So Silvestri came in and did the music for Ready Player One. And in Ready Player One, there's a very small scene where you can hear kind of the literally the Back to the Future music kind of right there, and
sure, like yeah, I remember that.
Really Silvestri doing it, so it was like, music in that movie is pretty great.
Okay, so real quick recap: Back to the Future, unassailable masterpiece. Forrest Gump, wonderful film, deserved the Oscars that it won. S tier for me as well. Romancing the Stone, Back to the Future 3, Contact, and Castaway, all A rank. Not quite good enough to be S's, but still really damn good movies. Very rewatchable. Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future 2 are B's for me. Good movies. Can be rewatched, no big deal, but they're not something that I would put as like personal favorites. And then C's would be Beowulf, Flight, The Walk, and Allied. Those are all okay movies. Nothing terrible about them. Watchable. He hasn't really made a bad film that I've seen. All the stuff down here in the bottom, these 6 films I have not seen. And then if you add The Witches, which he released in 2020 on HBO Max, I have not seen that either. But a pretty consistent director, I have to say. Robert Zemeckis, very consistent director.
I have to agree with that too, for sure. His when he's good, he's good.
I for some reason thought he made more films than this, but that's a pretty good list regardless. So that is my ranking of Robert Zemeckis films. Thanks for watching.